If you don't know anything about the word, maybe you know about David. He was the one who wrote Psalms. We spoke a lot about David's life. So if he wasn't here for the last 2 months, I think you missed out a little bit. But that is okay, still have more to get, right? So we want to conclude with 1 Samuel altogether. And so I will not be going through all the chapters, but summarizing the chapters this morning and taking some lessons that we could learn. A little bit unorthodox, but I'll try to rush it as best as possible. Last week, we spoke about forgiveness. And those of you here, tell me if you remember. In the context of how David treated Saul. Anybody remember how David treated Saul? No. In 1 Samuel 26, we saw once again that Saul was of course influenced badly by the people around him. All you remember now? And went after David. Yet God turned that situation around for David's benefit. David once again had the opportunity to kill Saul. Yet David let him live. David let his enemy live not once, but twice. So I spoke about forgiveness. Alright? And you know, as I said, sometimes we forgive somebody once, but sometimes we don't forgive them twice. Now I guess the rule, I start to extend that rule. I say, alright, I will forgive you once, I'll forgive you twice, maybe I will forgive you a third time. I'm not too sure about the fourth or the fifth time. I don't know about you. But we saw that through David's life, David was an example of a Christian before Christ was born, right? Christ came into. And so forgiveness plays an important part in our Christian lives. David once again had the opportunity to kill Saul, yet he let him live. And in the end, Saul once again came to his senses that David could be the next king. And so moving on quickly, in chapter 27, the first two verses, it says, "And David said in his heart, I shall now perish one day by the hand of Saul." This is after Saul say, "Hey, what, I wouldn't bother you anything." David say after that, David can't believe, because remember, it happened once. It happened, fool me once, fool me twice, whatever he saying, right? So he says, "I shall now perish one day by the hand of Saul. There is nothing better for me than that I should speedily escape into the land of the Philistines." Or you know about the Philistines, right? This will start to make sense. Bear with me. "And Saul shall despair of me, to seek me anymore in any coast of Israel." So Saul, he believed that Saul, once David stayed in Israel, he believed that Saul was going to kill him, right? "So shall I escape out of his hand." And verse 2 says, "And David arose and he passed over with the 600 men that were with him unto Achish, the son of Maach, king of Gath." Now if you don't see something strange here, I will point it out for you, because we have to, as I said, we pointed out some points this morning. David was an Israelite and the next chosen king. In fact, the bloodline would eventually make way for even Jesus Christ himself, right? Yet David himself found himself fleeing from Saul and going back to his enemies, which became his quote-unquote friends. That make any sense this morning? He fled from his own to go to his enemies, where his enemies would now be his friends. That ever happened to you? Anybody? In workplace, that has happened plenty, One minute somebody's your friend in the workplace, and you're buddy, talking from experience, and the next minute, that same person become your worst enemy overnight. They don't even know what happened. And now you end up all alone, and now you have to make friends with the enemies you had before. Just to have somebody to talk to, just to make the day go by a little bit better. Well, this is how I interpret it from my experience of David, what David went through. But I always say in this life, sometimes we get fooled into thinking that life will have no problems. My brother, I'm sure he had problems in his life, from what you were saying there. That is one thing he could never say. Life will have problems. Life does have its problems. And I don't say that in a mean way, but I say that in a way to encourage you that when problems come your way in this life, you have the option to let your life be squandered out by problems, or to dodge your problem, or to jump over your problem and move on in life. And I believe, I believe that we are getting the picture. I believe so, because this is not the first time I repeat that life will have problems, but today I want to encourage you that when there is a problem, that is challenge on for the Christian. Challenge on for the Christian man. Alright? And that challenge, you don't have to take that challenge alone. By all means, we feel that we sometimes are alone, but we don't have to take on that challenge alone. Alright? Just like what Sister June said. Sister June said if it wasn't for Brother Cook being to encourage her, she had a challenge, a very great challenge. A challenge I would dare not go even further. But yet she had someone who could have encouraged her. Do we see our God that same way? Do we see Jesus in that same light? Sometimes, as I say, we have to program our minds to see God the way we have to see Him, Nobody's going to do that for us. We have to do that for ourselves. But anyways, that is our next story altogether. That is our next sermon altogether. So David found himself fleeing from Saul and going back to his enemies, which became his quote-unquote friends for a time being. And talk about a soap opera unfolding. I tell you earlier, this Bible really kicks in it, Kicks in a good way, not kicks in a unserious way, a serious way. But there was a little lesson to be learned here. God was revealing to me a small lesson on relationships. When we don't treat our own with care, we can lose our own people in the process too. This is what he was showing me. Because Saul, he had the ways. He broke away from what God was telling him. And because he broke away from what God was telling him, he kind of ran his own, which was David. You see, Saul might have survived if David was with him, because David was the next anointed. So if David was with him, the playout would have been different. But it so happened under God's will that did not happen. And so he lost, so we could lose our own people in the process too, if we don't treat them with care. And it is a very complicated thing, because our mental perception also has a lot to play with this scenario. Because sometimes somebody treating you good and you still find a problem with them. Come on, somebody. It had two ways this is go. It is not one way the sciences work. It is work two ways. Sometimes if you want to find a problem with somebody, we will find a problem with them. No matter how good, how nice, or whatever it is, if the blood don't take them, all the science for you just test that one. But if your blood don't take somebody, nah, me ain't dealing with them. Not so? And then you find somebody, and they have all the best ways, Oh God, but I love that one, It's just how we decide when we decide to play. Unless we have rules, alright? So, it was, as I say, we have to consider that part as well. But if we don't treat our own family and our own friends with respect, this is what God was showing me. We could also be pushing them to find their own respect outside in the world. Now that doesn't mean it is your fault that they go outside into the world, necessarily, because they also have a choice. But with a little bit of wisdom, we can make sense of our family life, what God is saying too. Because He's saying if we don't treat our own with respect, then they might try to find something outside there. You know where I see that plenty times? I see that in marriages. I don't know about you. I see that in marriages a lot of time. And believe it or not, men are the ones who stay quiet about it. Men say, nah, I ain't gonna say nothing, I don't like this, but I ain't gonna say nothing. They're not feeling treated with that level of respect. And you know what they end up doing? You find an outside woman. Talk to me, somebody, I ain't saying anything wrong. That happens. Because if they don't feel their authority in their home, now I say that with a certain degree as well, You can't just be a man and be quarreling the whole day and say, hey, because I big and bad, it's not like that I'm talking about. I'm talking about a respectful man who has his family, but he's not respected in his own family. Man's eyes just go wide. And sometimes it strays. And when he can't find respect in his own house, what does he do? He finds it somewhere else. And you know what he will do? If he can't find it somewhere else, he will buy it. He will buy respect if he has money. Or what he thinks respect is. You know how much times I see that? Plenty times. Now, as I say, I'm not blaming anyone in particular. I'm just showing you that relationships is an important part in our life as well too. And so God was showing me as well that. God constantly shows me about relationship this morning. I don't know about you, but he shows me relationship. How I could be more perfect at a relationship as well too. Right? So anyways, we're moving on quickly. David developed a good relationship with that king I just said, Achish. And Achish, the king of Gath, gave David the city of Ziklag. Now here's this thing. The king was a Philistine. So he was the enemy of Israel. The enemy of Israel gave David a whole city. I tell you, David was blessed even though he was under his enemy. And sometimes, you know what happens to us? We can't accept the blessings even when we're under the enemy. We have blessings, you know, but we never say, God, thank you for your blessings. Even when the enemy over we. Don't mean we can't say thank you for what God has given us. This morning I'm talking to anybody here. So everybody here over the enemies right now or the under. But I want to believe that somebody here is not over the enemy as yet. There is somebody here today that you have not gone over your enemy, but at the same time, you're not thankful that God has already blessed you, even though you're not over your enemy yet. You see, God gives us little to test us with. And when we're not thankful for the little, you know what happens? How you give me more? Let me tell you something. God has his own sort of ego, you know. You know that, right? God has his own sort of ego. Sometimes he will do something so that not you will get bigger. Don't mind, you might get $1 million. He will do it not for you, you know. He will do it for himself. Because you know what God wants? The glory and the honor and the praise. All they come now. This is how he is. And sometimes we're thinking, oh, you know, I do this, you know, boy. God bless me because I eat the nicest things in sliced bread. Not realizing that God given you that. And you twist it around to make it believe that you are the nicest things in sliced bread. But you probably isn't. Or each of us is the nicest things in sliced bread. That's a compliment. I really mean that in a good way. But God wants his glory and his honor and his praise. So when he gives you something, and you take a little credit, all right, human beings, you take some credit. Don't forget to give him the glory, the honor, and the praise. Because when you don't give him the glory, the honor, and the praise, you know what will happen? You might think you still get blessing next time around, when you could have get 100 times that blessing the next time around. This is the thing that I start to learn. And I start to say, boy, I real stupid boy. If I had known these things 10 years ago, I would have tried to line myself up to be in God's glory more and more and more. Thank God I had a good father. It was because of my good father I believe the blessings came unto me. Right? Daddy father up above and the father in real life, very physical father. So anyways, so the king of Gath gave David the city of Ziklag. And David and his 2 wives and all his men stayed there for 1 year and 4 months in the enemy's territory, unhurt, undamaged, no problems. Anybody blessings? Blessings under the enemy, yeah? Yeah? And there was again a repeated lesson about the favor of God. That is the favor of God in your life. But you know what some people interpret the favor of God to be? something that is not realistic. The favor of God is when every single possible thing goes according to their plan. But we see David struggle this morning. We would not like to be in David's shoes this morning. But somehow we have interpreted the favor of God to be every single thing must go according to what I think. That is not what God is all about. God is not about what you think only. God has to deal with 8 billion thinkers. And so he has to deal in a corporate session. I can't remember the last time anybody ever could preach that. But this is what God was showing me. Because if you win the lotto and 8 million win the lotto, is less than 1 cent all you will get each if it's Trinidad lotto. Think about it. All we can win it at the same time. But God wants to bless you, you know. But if you only look here what is this I want, and you forget the rest of the blessing, what's going to happen? You see, alright? No glory and no honor for me. I will bless you, you know. But I could have blessed you more. What we want this morning? We want to be blessed a little bit, or we want to be blessed immeasurably. I will give up money any day just to have my health. I realized I learned my lesson with my father. Any amount, take all, give them my health, because if I have my health, I can work and I can make it under God. So how we see favor is a different thing. So sometimes in order to see the favor of God in our lives, God puts us, sorry, my apologies for the sound system. God puts us in imperfect situations, hear this, and then he adds favor on top of that. You know why he does that? Here's why, explanation. Here's why. In order for us to see the favor of God, you hear that? For us to see it, is we fall sometimes when we don't see it and we don't get the perfect situation. And sometimes you have to put the imperfect situation and add the toppings, you know, like when you put a cake. You know when you cook, you know, it's like bake a cake for me, and you ain't put no icing on that cake, you might as well don't want to give me that cake. I want a little bit of ice in there. I mean, I don't want my cholesterol and thing, eh? But I need a little bit of ice in it to make it sweet. And when you put the, Brother Darren, when you put the sprinkles on it, right? It don't make you like, it don't attract you to the cake more than the cake plate. Me, you know, I asked him, Brother Darren, will tell you no, eh? He might say, no, I go eat cake, that's so. Cake is cake. But for me, when I see the little sprinkles, I see here. So anyway, so we come back here. So he pours the favor on top of this imperfect situation that we have. For us to see his favor. For us to see it. If it was perfect, we'll say, alright, whatever, it's good. So when I think about this insight, as I look back at my numerous accumulated experience, you look back at your life, I realize that the favor of God has been upon my life from very long ago. But I was blind. And because I was blind, you know what happened to me? The cleanest, the best favor that I could have, God could not give me that. Because I was too blind. I hard on myself? No, not really. I learn now. So the question is, in your life, what about your imperfect situations if you do have? Is it because God is punishing you? Not really, you know. Because God wants to put his favor upon you too. Especially a believer this morning, Brother Cook. He wants to put the favor more and more and more upon you. But if you think you're not ready for it, he will also send an imperfect situation. And that is not to hurt you. That is so that you can give him the glory and the praise. And when you learn that lesson, then more good things will come your way. But you can't continue going back into the same cycle of doing it over and over and over. Because why? And we are bright people. So we have to continue to be bright. Continue to be bright this morning. Alright? So my life has been quite filled with imperfect situations. But yet, in every imperfect situation, God's favor has been on each situation this morning. How about yours this morning? When I look at it, there are two types of favor. There is perfect favor, where everything works out perfectly. Ever had a real good day? One good day probably comes for me 1 in 5 years. That I could say, here what? This day, I can't find a single problem in it. I'm talking about every good day is a good day for me. But I say, the perfect day that I could think of might come about 1 in 5 years for me. The most one that I could never, that I'll say, yeah, I'll take back 5 years and I'll remember it. That is how it is. Alright? And so that is the perfect favor. And then there are situations that are not so perfect. And yet, even in the situations not so perfect, it works out. Anybody had a situation like that, it work out for you? It's working out. And I believe God sends us these situations, as I said, not to punish us, but to show us why we depend on Him this morning. You want to know the answers? Here is the simple answer. The question is whether we will accept the answer given. And going a little bit deeper this morning, the question is, why does God do this to us? God was imparting to me that He does this because He loves us dearly. Hear this pointer? This is like an alarm clock for us. It wakes us up in the morning. For those of you with an alarm clock, you know that if that alarm clock doesn't sing, will you get up? Anybody have an alarm clock? My phone is everything these days. Internet, clock. Sometimes I have a watch I take on my phone. It's the alarm clock too. It's right next to my head all the time. When my Bible should be right next to my head. But when the alarm clock sings, you know another day has arrived and that you are alive. That is what this is. Well, imperfect situations, where God adds His favor, is like that alarm clock. The alarm clock reminds you that God is still here, and that God is still working, and that the favor of God is still on your life this morning. That is what the alarm clock does. Alright? And it tells us, that alarm clock says, don't forget God. Don't forget God. It might be a quieter alarm clock than normal, but that is how it is. It tells us, don't forget God. Having that imperfect situation, tells us, don't forget God. Don't forget God.